Hello beautiful people and welcome back to Wine Chat. My name is Emma and I'm a certified sommelier with a mission to spread wine knowledge and to help you drink better. Today we are chatting about something invisible in your glass of wine. You can't see it, you can't hear it, sometimes you can smell it. Thankfully not in this glass, but however we are talking about, of course, sulfites. What are they? Why are they in your wine? And are they really bad for you? Let's chat about it. Despite what some people may think, no bottle of wine is completely free of sulfites. Sulfites are actually a naturally occurring byproduct of fermentation. So every single bottle of wine, regardless whether it says no added sulfites or no added sulfur dioxide, will contain a small amount of sulfites. And sulfur dioxide is used throughout the winemaking process to help keep the wines fresh. It's used as an antioxidant and as a preserver. It may be used on the grapes when they first come into the winery to help keep them fresh. It's used throughout the winemaking process to kill off bad bacteria and stop any extra bacteria from growing. And it's used in the bottling process to help keep the wines fresh and to stop them from becoming oxidized in the bottle. Now, this is not a new winemaking technique at all. It's been around for centuries and centuries of years, dating back to the ancient Romans, who used to burn candles made of sulfur in their empty wine containers to stop the wine from turning into vinegar. In the early 1900s, sulfites started to be used during the winemaking process to help kill off the bad bacteria and stop it from growing in the wine. Unfortunately, in the 20th century, some producers started pumping their wines chock-a-block full of sulfites, up to about 500 milligrams per litre, which is a huge amount. And this was to compensate for the bad hygiene practices in the winemaking and in the winery. And this is where sulfites really get their bad name from. Thankfully, in the 1990s, the EU brought in some legislation around the maximum levels of sulfites in your bottle of wine. But are sulfates in wine bad for you? For most people, the answer is no. And no, sulfites don't cause your hangovers the next day either. If you are getting wine headaches or too many hangovers, maybe it's time to look at the wine choices that you're making. Poorly made and cheaper wines tend to have more residual sugar, fining agents, and a higher alcohol percentage to help them taste better. So maybe that's where your wine headache is coming from, not the sulfur. And perhaps maybe you're enjoying one too many glasses of wine. Remember team, there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. A very small percentage of the population do, however, suffer from a sulfite sensitivity, and this is going to be more common if you also suffer from asthma. If you're in this very small percentage of the population, which is estimated to be only 1% of all people, then look for wines with low sulfur written on the label, or look for wines that are promoted as being natural wines, as natural wine producers often use little or no added sulfur to the winemaking process. Just remember though that natural wine is not a legal definition, so the wines will vary from producer to producer. So how many sulfites are in your glass of wine? I know it can sound quite scary sometimes when you read the label of your wine and you see written in all caps, contains sulfites. But in reality, it is not all bad. Many foods that are consumed every single day actually contain way more sulfites than your beautiful glass of wine. Wines such as processed foods, packaged meats, orange juice, fizzy drinks, and the worst of all, dried fruit. Wines with lower acidity need a high level of sulfites to help keep them stable and fresher for longer. Wines that are lighter in color will also contain a higher level of sulfites. So a glass of dry white wine will often contain around 100 milligrams per liter of sulfites, whereabouts a glass of dry red wine will contain only about 50 milligrams per liter of sulfites. Sweet wines with a higher sugar content will also need more sulfites to prevent a secondary fermentation from happening inside the bottle. The maximum levels of sulfites allowed in your wine per milligram per liter are 150 for dry reds, 200 for dry whites and rosés, 235 for sparkling wines, and 250 for sweet white and rosé wines. If wines are labelled as organic, the limits are even lower, with 100 for reds, 150 for whites and rosés, and 200 for most sweet wines. Outside the EU, the levels are also a little bit different. So maximum levels for dry wines in the USA are 350, 250 for Australia, 300 for Chile, and around 160 in South Africa. Now, what if you think that you can smell the sulfites in your wine? What you may be smelling is the sulfur compounds, which is found in all sulfites. This is kind of like a little bit of a rotten egg kind of smell, and this can be reduced or removed by decanting the wine and chilling it down. As the warmer the wine is, the more molecular sulfur is released. So remember, unless you're in the 1% with a sulfite sensitivity, there is nothing to be feared from some sulfites in your wine. And I think you'll find nowadays the trend for most winemakers anyway is to use as little amount in the winemaking process as possible. And what is used, just remember, it's used as a freshness preserver and an antioxidant for your wine, so that when you buy it, you are getting the best product possible. Well, team, that is all from me today. If you learned something new, give this video a like, and if you have any questions or something you would like to see next time, leave a comment below. Remember to subscribe for more wine education, and until next time, remember, drink better, be better.